the Western Players Radio Group presents Izzy and the Brunels by Andrew Barber, directed by Gillian Brain.
Twilight Pastures Care Home. May I help you? No, I'm afraid we don't schedule Pilates or spin classes here. Have you tried Silver Surfers?
Sorry, love. I'm just about to see Uncle Ern. What's up? No, I haven't forgotten Sally's recorder recital at 6. 5. I meant 5. They should really put warnings on the condom packets. Failure to use this product may significantly increase the risk of recorder music and nativity plays. Really? You really enjoy them? No, I don't enjoy them at all. Because I enjoy music. And 25 8-year-olds butchering London's burning is not music. No, I don't think Ern would be interested. He likes music too, or I would dig a tunnel and stage an escape attempt. It seems to be the only thing he still enjoys, poor thing. OK, the nurse is here now. Got to go.
This is not Colditz, Mr. Richmond. Your uncle is free to leave as soon as he has medical authorisation to do so. We are all concerned about whether he can live on his own after the fire. He does have some outlandish stories which frankly make me wonder about his state of mind. He'd lived on his own for a long time. Being a little, fanciful is perhaps to be expected. But he is here under observation, and that is all. We are not jailers, we are nurses. He's here for his own good.
I know. Just joking with my wife. It makes the world go round. Laughter's the best medicine, right?
I would ask you to be more sensitive with your comedy around the residents. Some of them would give anything to see their grandchildren, even in a recorder recital.
Sorry, I wasn't thinking. How's my Uncle Ern doing?
Well, he seems calm, but he always does before you arrive. Please try not to overexcite him this time.
I will do my best. Scout's honour.
You know where his room is?
Hey, Uncle Ern, it's party time. Clive in the house, coming to you live. Woohoo! Put your hands in the air and wave them like you're having a stroke.
A stroke of what?
Stroke of whatever you can reach.
Who's having a stroke? You all right, Ern?
Go back to sleep, Frank. It's just my nephew Clive.
Nice to see you again, Uncle Ern. Not dead yet, then?
Oh, if I am, nobody's told me. But nobody tells me nothing around here.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Apparently, I'm supposed to go to Sally's recorder recital tonight. I swear nobody mentioned it until just now. Want to go?
Oh, I'd rather listen to Frank Snortar. It's about as tuneful, and there's only one of him.
What's that now?
Just saying that you're better company than my great niece and her friends.
Your great niece is working for a better company? That's nice. She didn't like her old job much.
No, a lot of executive stress for an 8-year-old. Her Newton's cradle just fell apart at the end. Now, put your head down, Frank. God knows we all need our beauty sleep. Especially you old gargoyle. He's got a face like a blind cobbler's thumb and no mistake. Sorry about him, Clive.
It's all part of the Richmond experience. I found that record you wanted.
You found the old German pressing of Elvis doing Edelweiss in German? Oh, that was hilarious. Got me through some tough times on sentry duty, I can tell you. It's funny. So many memories went up in smoke in that fire. And the only thing I really miss is the music. Thank you so much. It's good to have this little beauty back again.
I'm so glad you weren't at home when your electrics exploded. Do you have the whole collection reassembled now?
Almost. I've saved the best for last.
Ooh, and what's the last one? Little Richard on mescaline doing Dizzy Miss Lizzie in Norwegian?
Oh, well, that was surprisingly close. Izzy and the Brunels on Margarine Records doing Long Tall Lizzie in Cuban Heels.
Margarine Records? I don't suppose they overly troubled the big beasts like EMI and Decca.
Oh, yeah, they were quite small. They were run by a married couple called Marjorie and Ian, and they apparently called themselves Margarine because it was a combination of their names. Well, it wasn't technically because they were cheap, greasy, and a poor substitute for the real thing. But nobody could be blamed for thinking that.
I've learnt a lot about 50s music tracking down your collection, but I've never heard of Izzy and the Brunels. What were they? One-hit wonders?
Not even one-hit wonders. Just 5 lads from Swindon with someone else's guitars and their own dreams. But there were some who thought they were pretty special. Back in 1957, they could have changed the world.
Do you ever get sick of making record players, Brian? You must have been working at Garrod for, 2 years?
Is it really that long?
Must be. I remember you telling me. It was when Rock Around the Clock was at number 1. That was 1955. So yeah, 2 years ago. It was playing on the radio when you told me you got the job. That narrows it down to about 5 weeks anyway. They played it for ages.
I remember that. But at least it wasn't as long as Slim Bloody Whitman. 11 weeks of Rosemary was grim, Izzy.
And at least it was rock and roll. It was music for cool young people.
What, sung by someone who was overweight, over 30 and had a glass eye?
Which is why the world needs someone actually cool and young to do it. Like us.
We're not going to get very far playing skiffle. Izzy and the Brunels could be bigger than Bill Haley, but not until we can sound like the big American stars.
But we're never going to sound as good as the proper American stars until we get some proper American instruments.
No luck on your trip to London, then?
No. I went to every music shop on Denmark Street, but they just have the same German rubbish we can get in Swindon, except at London prices. Apparently, none of the American companies like Fender or Gibson even export to Britain.
I don't suppose I blame them. Nobody in Britain has any money. We've just come off bloody rationing, in case you forgot.
No, I don't think I will ever forget that. Anyway, we can still rehearse as a skiffle band. I think those new songs are going to work out.
Are they still all about how you want to shag the Queen?
Pretty much, yeah. Damned attractive woman.
You know, when Mr. Goddard told you should be more ambitious, I think he meant wanting to be foreman or something. I don't think he meant setting your sights on the actual Queen. What does Rita think about this?
She's fine with it.
Are you sure about that?
Well, she's still talking to me anyway. It's not all shouting. Anyway, how's your electric gimcrackery coming along? Were you able to nick all those parts you needed from work?
Mostly. I finished those pickups for my acoustic now, like the ones on real electric guitars. They just fit under the strings. And I've got all the valves and stuff I need to make an amp. That's mostly working. It actually sounds pretty good. Some of the time, and sometimes it even doubles up as a smoke machine. I'll bring it along to rehearsal. It's quite large, so I've put wheels on it.
It's very useful to have an apprentice electronics engineer in the band. I don't get to nick anything useful from work. Did you have any ideas about my bass?
Izzy, your bass is a tea chest with a broomstick attached to it with one string. There's nowhere to put the pickups. But if you do ever get an electric bass, I have an amp that will work for it.
I suppose we better wait for one to fall in our laps then. This is so frustrating. I can deal with not being able to afford something. That's the story of my life. But for the shops to not even have them, that's just more rationing.
Which is also the story of your life.
Oh, you're a great help, you are. Anyway, I'd better be getting home. Dad's been in a funny mood lately.
Lately? Your dad's been in a funny mood since he came back from the war. That was A White Sport Coat and a Pink Carnation by the King Brothers. You're listening to Force's Favourites on the BBC. Up next, Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me by Elvis Presley, the young lad from America making... Bloody American rubbish.
Hello, I'm home.
What sort of time do you call this?
8:30.
Don't get smart with me. Your mother made your dinner 3 hours ago.
Was it any good?
I suppose you've been at the pub.
What else is there to do around here?
And I suppose you were wasting your time with your friends talking about your band. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Music is fine for a hobby, son, but you'll never make a living at it.
Not if I'm playing a bloody tea chest.
Your generation are so bloody ungrateful. Always want the best. I fought a war for you.
All on your own?
No, of course not on my own. What's wrong with you?
Nothing. What's wrong with you?
You're so rebellious all the time. You need some military discipline, son. That's what you need.
Because that did you all the good in the world, didn't it? You were working on the railways, you went off to war, shot a few Germans, and now here you are back on the railways doing the exact same job. And you'll probably keep doing it until you die.
You have a steady job as well. You need to be grateful for that. When I was your age, we used to have to fight for jobs.
Blow that for a game of soldiers.
Look, if you're going to live under my roof, you have to play by my rules. Show some respect and show some gratitude.
If you have to ask for my respect, Daddy-O, you don't deserve it. I'm out of here.
Has he gone out again? I've just eaten up his dinner.
Lily, that boy has no respect.
What did you say to him this time?
I reminded him that he's living under my roof and he needs to buck his ideas up a bit.
Ron, I knew you two don't always see eye to eye, but can't you at least pretend just for my sake?
It's all rock and roll with him. Nothing else seems to matter. Not his job, not his family, not even his girlfriend. I mean, that Rita is a lovely girl, and he spends all his evenings writing filthy songs about the Queen. I went to war to protect this country from foreign invasion, and what do we get now? American music and American attitudes.
Do you really think he's cut out to work on the railways?
Well, he's got to do something. He's not going to make any money from music.
You might be right. You probably are. But whatever he ends up doing, he's a round peg, and that job is a square hole.
You can fit a round peg in a square hole, you know. You just need to cut it down to size.
And is this what you want for your son? To be less than he could be? He needs to follow his art, Ron. He'll never be happy on the railways.
Follow his art? It's not following his art that bothers me. It's following other parts of his anatomy. Let's say his dreams do magically come true and he gets to shag the Queen, as he keeps singing that he wants to do. You know what they call it when someone sleeps with a married female member of the royal family?
Love?
Treason, Lily. They call it treason.
Right you are, Ern. Shepherd's pie followed by tinned peaches.
Oh, could you get that for me, please, Barbara? It's in my jacket.
Here you go, Ern.
Hello, Uncle Ern. Clive here. How are you doing today?
Oh, not so bad, Tar. a bingo night last night. That's always entertaining. You know Janet, the one who always smells a deep heat?
I think you might know Janet better than I do.
Well, she thought she'd won, but she misheard one of the numbers. Oh, there was quite a cat fight when it was actually Celia that won.
Sounds like a fun evening.
Oh, educational too. Celia and Janet learnt a few things about each other, and everyone learnt something about Janet's wig. That's the trending hot button at the moment around here anyway. Is that what they call it now?
Something like that. I was actually calling to say I'd had no luck tracking down that record you wanted. Long Tall Lizzie? There seems to be no record of it at all. Nobody I know has even heard of it.
Oh no, that one was my favourite.
Well, there might be places I can still check. Can you remember anything else about the record? Any clues that might help? A reference number would be good.
I love music, Clive, but I'm not that much of an anorak. The producer's name was George Phillips. He went on to do movie work, I think. You might be able to find him that way. And I'm pretty sure that Margarine Records used to use a little studio in London not far from Paddington Station.
Any idea what it was called?
Oh, I don't. But apparently it was the same studio that later got used to record the sax solo for Baker Street, so that might help. Did you know that poor sax player only got paid 200 quid for that gig? He just made it up on the spot, and then it became one of the most iconic sax riffs ever.
How do you remember all this stuff?
I have no idea. Stuff I heard a long time ago stays there forever, it seems. The stuff I heard this morning doesn't even go in. I've no idea 'tis what I'm supposed to be having for dinner this evening. Barbara only just asked me what I wanted, and I've forgotten it already.
I don't think that's old age. The same thing happens to me all the time.
Well, you're not exactly young, are you, Clive?
This is true. Right. I shall see what I can do to find that record. I can't chat for long now. Another recorder recital to go to. It's Terry's one tonight. See you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Was that your nephew?
It was. Just a quick chat as he has another concert to go to. Of sorts.
Recorder recital?
Oh, I'm afraid so. We used to have proper gigs in the old days. It wasn't all just kids with recorders. I saw Buddy Holly in Swindon. And Chuck Berry. That was in 1957. Before you were even born.
Sure you did, Ern. And Elvis drove you there, right?
Get in a car with Elvis on British roads? Are you mad? I only made that mistake once. He drives like a lunatic. I said to him, the world doesn't need another dead James Dean. It needs the king of rock and roll to carry on making great music. But that was later, in Germany. No, Elvis wasn't there that night. But it was a great gig. I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Wow, what a gig, Izzy.
That was amazing. I think we've just seen the future of music.
How do you mean?
That's what all the bands will be doing in future, I think.
Playing at McIlroy's? I think we got lucky there. Swindon got added to the tour because they had a free night after their gig in Bristol. They're flying back to the States tomorrow.
No, I mean the arrangements. 2 guitars, bass and drums. That's the way to go.
No piano? You want to sack Harry? He's a great piano player. If you get rid of Harry, who's going to drive the van? We still need to get to gigs.
I don't want to sack Harry. He really adds something to the sound. Pianos are great, lovely percussive sound.
And they had no sax player. That's Jack out.
I don't want to get rid of Jack either. I don't want to sack anyone. I was just saying that I think other bands will copy that template. Nobody's really done that before. Bill Haley was basically a swing band shrunk down. So much rock and roll still has one foot in jazz. The future is guitars, not brass.
I think Buddy Holly's music has a bit of country twang to it.
Still has a double bass though. That always seems like jazz to me. One of the other bands had an electric bass. Did you see that? It looks like a guitar, but it has thicker strings and only 4 of them. They've just come out.
I hadn't noticed that. I think I was chatting up the barmaid when they were on.
Same old Brian. So I guess you're seeing her after the show.
Well, she did ask so nicely. What are you going to do?
I was going to hang out at the stage door and see if I could ask Buddy Holly for some songwriting advice. Want to come?
Sure, I'm not seeing that barmaid for another half an hour.
I was hoping you'd say that. That's why we came down this alleyway.
I was wondering, is that it there?
Mind your backs, lads. Roadie coming through. I reckon that's the right door, yes. Need a hand, mate? Cheers. Could you two manage the drums?
I reckon so.
Cheers. Very kind of you. Has Buddy Holly left yet? Autograph hunter, eh? Yeah, he was the first out the door. But I've got some signed photos in the cab. I'm a songwriter. I wanted to pick his brains. You write songs? Rock and roll songs? Yeah. Well, that's great. But sorry, mate, he's already on his way to London. And that's where we should be. See, we should have left by now too. Pass me that drum, will ya? Cheers. I think that's the lot. Take it easy, you crazy kids. Oi, mate, you left these guitars here.
Izzy, man, what are you doing?
That roadie left these 2 guitars behind.
And?
And we should get them back to him.
They're a big rock and roll band. They probably have loads of electric guitars.
I guess.
And we're a small rock and roll band with no electric guitars of any kind. I'm sure they could spare a couple.
Brian, we can't just steal someone else's guitars. There are rules about that sort of thing. Musicians have a code of honour.
Izzy, one of them is a brand new Fender Stratocaster.
Really? Wow, what's the other one?
A brand new Fender Precision bass.
Well, of course it's not stealing if something has been abandoned.
No, that's just serendipity. God clearly wanted us to have them just at the time that we needed them. Are you going to tell God himself that he's made a mistake?
I'm sure there are lots of strong biblical reasons why I shouldn't do that, but it still seems wrong.
And while we've been having this chat, the van has completely vanished. And we have no way to find them, so we can't really help even if we wanted to, which of course we do. OK, how about this for a plan? If we don't take these abandoned state-of-the-art electric instruments, someone else will. They may not be as trustworthy as us. At least with us, we know what they're worth, so we can take good care of them. And if someone from the band gets in touch, we'll give them back. But in the meantime, it's bad for the instruments if they don't get played, and they definitely shouldn't be left outside. So we should at least look after them so we can play them to maintain them, to keep them in tip-top condition before we return them to the rightful owners.
I had heard that you have to do that with Stradivarius violins, so it might be good for guitars too.
There you go then. We're doing them a favour. Agreed?
Agreed.
And now, after years of toil around the working men's clubs of this country, you're Britain's top ventriloquist. And you've made it to the dizzy heights of the railway canteen in Middlesbrough for Workers' Playtime! How does that make you feel?
Oh, I wish my mum could see me now.
And how about your charming doll? How does he feel?
Bloody great!
Hello, Rita, love, you all right?
Can't complain, Tar. Is he in?
Can't you hear him? He's not stopped with that bloody new guitar since he came home from that concert.
He's got a new guitar.
Didn't he tell you?
No, he didn't.
I hope I've not put my foot in it.
You should be more worried about where I'm going to put my foot.
If someone's going to talk any sense into him, it'll probably be you. He's in his room. I know I can trust you.
I know the rules. At least 1 foot on the floor at all times.
There's a good girl.
Rita, check this out. I've just come up with a cool new bass part for my new song.
Izzy, how could you afford that guitar?
It's not a guitar, baby. It's a bass. There are none like this in Britain.
That sounds like it was very expensive. Where did you get it?
Found it.
What do you mean, found it?
Well, what does found it usually mean? It means I found it.
Found it where?
In an alleyway.
Which alleyway?
The one by McIlroy's. It got left behind after the gig when Brian and me were helping the Roadie load the truck.
So you stole it then?
I didn't steal it. It was abandoned.
Izzy, that must be worth hundreds of pounds. Look at it, it's brand new.
Well, I'm just looking after it until they ask for it back.
And how are they going to know where you live?
Never mind that. Check out this new song I wrote.
Is it about how you want to have sex with the Queen?
Well, yeah, but not me exactly. The narrator of the song.
And is this narrator also called Izzy?
Yes, but that's just branding.
So this Izzy in the song has your voice, your name, and he's singing your words, but he's not you.
Remember that movie we saw last month? Just My Luck with Norman Wisdom?
He's great. Don't you say a word against Norman Wisdom.
We saw those other films with him as well. Man of the Moment and Up in the World.
Yes, I like Norman Wisdom movies.
And what was Norman Wisdom's character called in those movies?
Norman, obviously. He always plays someone called Norman.
So the character had Norman Wisdom's name and his face, but he was not Norman Wisdom. Those things never happened to him in real life. He created a character, and he was playing that character in a movie.
Yeah, so...
So I have created a character with my name and my voice, and I'm playing that character in a song.
So you don't really want to shag the Queen?
You're the only girl for me, Rita. I even wrote you a part to sing for the new song. Want to play the Queen?
Me? Sing?
You've got a lovely voice.
Oh, I suppose I could try.
Great. Here are the lyrics. Now, you come in after the motorbike crash.
Hello, love. Yes, I'm there now. Not sure how long I'll be. Yes, the one I found on the internet. His name is George. George Phillips. No, I won't forget. Will they still be open? Is that oat milk or almond milk? Okay, I'll see what I can do. Speak soon.
Can I help you?
Hi, George. I'm Clive. We spoke on the phone.
Oh, yes. Please come in.
Thank you.
This way, please.
You have a lovely home. Are all these awards for your soundtrack work?
Mostly, although some are for the commercials. Funnily enough, Izzy and the Brunels were the only pop group I ever worked with.
And they put you off rock and roll for life?
Well, something like that, yes.
So, you said on the phone that the record was very rare.
Well, it is. It was never released. Only 100 were ever pressed.
So how much are you asking for it?
£100.
100 quid? That seems like a lot of money for a record that almost nobody has heard.
Like I say, they're very rare. Value comes from scarcity.
If you want to talk about demand and supply, how many people are demanding this single that almost nobody has heard?
Well, to be honest, you are the first, but it is very rare.
So is my wife's curry. But that's not worth much either, because nobody wants it.
Well, I'm sorry, but...
Look, I wasn't going to do the whole sob story thing, but this is for my uncle. He's in a care home. His house burnt down, and he lost his entire record collection, which was the only thing keeping him alive. He's asked me to track down the ones that really meant something to him. And this was number 1 on that list. He just loves this song. Is there anything you can do to bring the price down? He's not a rich man, and neither am I. And if you don't mind me saying, you seem to have done rather well for yourself.
I suppose I have been quite successful.
Please, give me the chance to tell my uncle I have also been successful.
OK. Fine, you're right. I should not be keeping it from someone who wants it so desperately. You can have it for nothing.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. How many have you got of them? I thought you said they were rare.
Well, I've got about 90, I suppose. Well, one less now. To be honest, nobody seemed to want them, so they came home with me. Things were a bit chaotic back then. Lots of arguments, lots of egos, lots of stress.
So how did you meet the band?
They were 5 lads from Swindon that I discovered in 1957. I was not really up to speed with what was in the charts. Not my scene, as the kids used to say. And I was only in Swindon accidentally.
Nobody ever goes there on purpose.
I suppose not. I was in Oxford, talking to the choir master at one of the colleges there. Can't remember which one. I had to change trains at Swindon, but the connecting one got cancelled, so I popped over the road to the pub. And then heard this music I'd never heard before.
That sounds like the Queen's Tap.
Possibly. And then I realised that all the songs were about wanting to sleep with the Queen, which I had some concern about. But I thought I could get them to tone it down.
Were the songs really that bad?
Well, Izzy, the songwriter, originally had about 30 songs. To be honest, all of them were pretty graphic. I only heard about 4 songs, but he showed me the lyrics to the rest. Well, I was impressed by their sound, though. They were raw, but I thought they had potential. But I simply could not record any of the songs they had at that time. This was 1957. We'd have been arrested. People didn't swear back then like they do now. Well, not on the radio, anyway. And generally, they didn't see the Queen as a sex object. So I found the least offensive song and asked Izzy to make it less offensive.
And how did that work out?
Well, that was Long Tall Lizzie. And I actually had my lawyer look over the other lyrics that Izzy gave me, and he said that just recording them would probably have been in breach of the Obscene Publications Act, let alone trying to sell them.
So the songs were basically pornographic?
Well, that was the legal advice I received at the time, except one. It was called Lizzie and the Handjive.
And that one wasn't porn?
According to my lawyer, that one was too gynecological to qualify as pornography, but it still wasn't really radio-friendly. Best of the bunch was Long Tall Lizzie, so I said if he had cleaned that up a bit, I'd record it.
And how did he take that?
First he thought it offended his creative sensibilities because rock and roll was all about sex and rebellion. Then his mate talked him into it. And then Izzy ran out of the door to tell his parents.
Either raisins or sultanas would work for this. But make sure you really strain the prunes first and keep the juice, because you'll need that for the next stage. Hope that helps, Mrs. Bradshaw of Mill Lane, Harrogate. I'll be answering listeners' questions after this delightful song by Bing Crosby. This is Housewife's Choice.
Mum, Dad,
on
I did it.
BBC.
I got a recording contract.
Well done, son. Did you hear that, Ron? He's got a recording contract. Our son is going to be a pop star.
Thanks, Mum.
I knew you could do it.
What do you say, Dad?
When have you ever cared what I thought? You know what I think anyway. You can't waste your life on dreams. You've got a good job on the railways. You could be a foreman in a few years if you knuckled down and did what you were told.
But I don't want to work on the railways.
It's not all about what you want, son. You'll have responsibilities of your own one day. Rita won't wait for a ring forever. And then you'll be a dad yourself. And then you'll have to have this conversation with your own son. That's just life.
Dad, I'm doing this because I don't want to end up like you. I can be more than that.
What, by singing songs about shagging the Queen? I was a soldier, for God's sake. She was my commander-in-chief. If I'd shown that sort of disrespect to my commanding officer, I'd have been court-martialed.
Lucky I'm not a soldier then. I'm going to stop working on the railways. It's not for me.
You're a fool then. You're throwing away a golden opportunity. You have a chance to make something of yourself on the railways.
This is my chance, Dad. You've heard of Elvis, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry. They all make huge amounts of money playing this sort of music. People want to listen to it.
Kids want to listen to it. They're all American singers anyway.
Which is why a British rock and roller could do really well. There's a gap in the market. Can't you see that it's actually patriotic to want to do a British version of something that we usually have to import?
Oh, Lily, can you talk some sense into this ingrate?
I think he's got a point, Ron.
What?
I wish I'd followed my dreams. I couldn't get the chance. Neither did you. He has got the chance and he should take it.
I went to war for...
Don't you make out that it was some kind of moral crusade, Ron. You were called up. You didn't want to go. Your mum told me. You went to war because you had to. You had no choice. Our son has a choice.
The choice to be a rock and roll singer will probably get arrested.
The choice to follow his passion, and the choice is his to make. Isn't that what you went to war for? So your children could have opportunities that you didn't?
Yeah, of course, but...
You wanted your son to have a better life than you did. This could give him that life. You keep saying you want to stand up for traditional British values. Isn't that a traditional British value? We have to want our kids to do better than us because we're getting bugger all.
I just think he's taking an unnecessary risk with his future. But I suppose you're right.
See, son, your dad can be reasonable. Son? Now he's gone out again. See what you've done, Ron? You've driven him away.
So, here we all are, on the train to London. Thanks for letting me stay on your sofa, Brian. My dad was being a right pain.
The war affected everyone differently. I got lucky with my dad. He was only making radios for the RAF. He never actually left Wiltshire. Your dad has probably seen some things, bad things.
I guess. But knowing that doesn't make him any less of a pain. You don't stop bleeding just because you understand why you're bleeding. You just bleed empathetically.
So, what's today going to be like? Have any of you ever been in a recording studio before? I'm feeling a bit out of my depth here.
Dunno. This is new to all of us. But I did nick a bottle of my dad's scotch to take the edge off things. Want some?
Yeah, I think I probably should.
Is that George over there?
Looks like him.
Welcome to London. Nice to see you all again. That studio's actually very near to here. Well, how was your journey?
The scotch helped.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you're feeling relaxed. Here we are.
So, this is what a recording studio looks like. I'd always wondered.
Thanks for your help, guys. Didn't you hear me outside? This thing weighs a ton.
What is it?
I made my own guitar amp.
Does it work?
Most of the time, although sometimes there's a bit of smoke.
Hey, you remembered Smells Like Queen's Spirit.
It's not supposed to sound like that, though.
No, that sounded terrible. No one's ever going to pay good money to hear music like that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It must have got knocked on the journey.
Yeah, you sounded like a right punk.
Don't worry, you can use this amp here. It sounds less, grungy.
So who are Margarine Records? They're drawing up the contract, yeah?
Yeah. We'll meet with them after the recording session. They're a hot new label that is going to compete with the big boys. I think we should give them a chance.
Strange name. Margarine Records.
They're a husband and wife team, Marjorie and Ian. Although I gather that Marge is very, supportive of musicians.
Oh, that's nice. These lads need mothering sometimes.
I don't think he's talking about mothering.
No. Well, I don't like to tell tales out of school, but people tend to think that Marge is just a nickname.
A nickname?
Oh, I get it. Because she spreads easily and doesn't need to be warmed up first.
How did you know?
Let's say that Swindon has Margies too.
And you probably know most of them, you sly dog.
So, are there going to be women who are attracted to Izzy just because he's a pop star?
Did you ever see an Elvis movie?
Yes, of course. Hasn't everyone?
And how did the girls react?
Well, they were screaming and saying they loved Elvis and wanted his babies and... I see.
It's just rock and roll, babe. And you have to admit, it's a better job than working on the railways.
Well, I'm starting to wonder.
Well, we're paying for this studio by the hour. Perhaps we should try recording something.
And that's when you recorded Long Tall Lizzie?
That's right. And it was the only recording we ever did together.
So what happened to the band?
National service. As soon as Izzy quit his job, he became eligible for call-up. And without him, the band just drifted apart. He was sent to Germany, and as far as I know, he never came back. I never heard from him again, anyway.
But Britain wasn't at war with Germany in 1957.
That was the middle of the Cold War. Berlin was divided. NATO and the USSR both had huge numbers of troops in the area.
But what about the music? I mean, Elvis and Jimi Hendrix were both ex-soldiers who re-established musical careers after their service.
Margarine Records folded soon after we did the recording. Ian had had enough of Marge's extracurricular activities. And when he found her in bed with Brian, the guitarist, he just wanted nothing more to do with the band.
Rock and roll, man. It's a gas. Oh my God. This song was recorded in 1957. Do you realise what you have here? This was Britain's first ever rock and roll song.
Really?
Yes. Everyone says it was Cliff Richard's Move It, which came out in 1958. If Long Tall Lizzie had been released, it could have changed British music history.
Well, I never.
There is so much history to be unpicked here. I can't take it all in. Izzy and the Brunels were Britain's first rock and roll band. Long Tall Lizzie was Britain's first rock and roll song. And Marge was Britain's first groupie.
If I'd done the album he wanted, it would probably have been the first concept album as well, in the sense that every song was about sex with the Queen.
Well, thank you, George. This has been an amazing and educational day. But I promised my missus I would pick up some almond milk. Or oat milk. Some kind of hippie milk anyway. And the shops are closing soon.
I understand. Well, lovely to meet you, Clive. It's been educational for me too. And I hope your uncle enjoys his record.
I think he's going to love it.
Are you here to see your uncle again?
Yep, and I have some good news for him.
Please try not to excite him.
I can't guarantee that. It is quite exciting news.
Clive, lovely to see you.
Uncle Ern, I have that record for you. Long Tall Izzy.
Oh, well done, that's great news.
Did you know it was the first British rock and roll song?
Well, of course I knew. I bloody wrote it.
You what?
Is there a writer's credit on the single? I don't have my glasses.
Bloody hell. Words and music by E. Richmond. Is that you?
Oh, I wasn't going to be credited as Izzy Brunel, was I? That was just a stage name.
What? You were Izzy as well? You sang the song?
Yes, and played bass. Now, put the needle on the record, will you? I've not heard it for ages.
Here's my story, true and sad, about a girl that I never had. She was cool, but I was keen. Why'd she have to be the queen? They said that love would be a fairy tale. I found the princess, what can I do now? Here's the reason that I feel blue. It's treason to do what I want to do. Well, I saw her on a stamp back in 53. I said, hot dog mama, that's the girl for me. She's my long tall lazy, good golly gee whiz. Now unless I know what true love is. I wrote a song so my love could start. Now I sit her with my broken heart. I'd never felt more like singing the blues. And my great balls of fire were hurting too. Went to a palace and I sang her a song, but the cop said, son, put your clothes back on. She's happily married and she don't want you. What's a teenager in love to do? I think she loves me, but I just can't tell. I sent a postcard from the Heartbreak Hotel. I know she won't be when I bare my soul, 'cause all the chicks dig rock and roll. I am the wild one she needs in her life, and she's the woman I need as my wife. I saw a ring that I thought she would like, but I spent the money on a motorbike.
He's a wide-eyed rebel with nothing to lose but his leather jacket and his blue suede shoes.
And if I'd crash in Dead Man's Wood, tell Lizzie I loved her as much as I could. I saw her on a stamp back in 53. I said, hot dog mama, that's the girl for me. She's my long tall lazy, good golly on high. I know our love will never die.
Izzy, no! Whoa! Slow down, Izzy! Slow down! No! I was the girl sitting on the throne, but without my Izzy I'm all alone. How can I wear this crown on my head and smile and wave now Izzy's dead? I'm long, tall Izzy and I know what I like. It's bad boys who ride motorbikes, leather Jack, it's rock and roll. He's the king of my heart, I'm the queen of his soul. Perhaps one day will this tale be told, when the sun is king and my body cold. Until then my love is true. I got Izzy loves Izzy as a back tattoo.
Love told Lizzie, love told Lizzie, love told His, Her Majesty ho. Love told Lizzie, love told Lizzie, love told His.
Wow! And you recorded that in 1957? It seemed to predict a lot of later songs.
Yeah, I'd hear songs afterwards and think, wish we'd released that one when we recorded it. We could sue these buggers now, but, well, that's life for you.
It's certainly catchy. Even the nurses were dancing to it.
See, Barbara? I told you I wrote that song about shagging the Queen.
I am so sorry I had misjudged you. You're not delusional at all. But it was an unlikely story, and some of our residents have similar stories for medical reasons. Please accept my apologies, Anne.
Oh, it's cool, babe. Oh, and call me Izzy.
In Izzy and the Brunels, the radio play by Andrew Barber, Roger Trayhurn played Ern and George, Matt Hemming played Izzy and the Roadie, Adrian Peace played Clive, Zena Howarth played Barbara and Lily, Tony Manders played Brian and Ron, Maddy Robbins played Rita, Gillian Brain played the receptionist, and Andrew Barber played Frank. The recording engineer was Andrew Barber, sound effects by Tony Manders, music by Andrew Barber, backing vocals by Maddy Robbins, Susan Pearson and Tracy Baker Stewart, directed by Gillian Brain.